All right, guys. Chef Thomas coming at you here. So we talked a little bit about in class, some of the things we need to be focusing on when we're doing our French toast. So doing a quick demonstration for you guys as to what it's gonna look like when you're home. So I'm gonna turn my cameras over, just me. So here in this area, what you will need is obviously your bowl to mix your sugar and cinnamon in for your mixture. I've already pre-portioned out the eggs that you guys will need, and then pre-portion out the milk that you guys will need. And then again, pre-portion out the amount of bread that you will need for your French toast as well. The butter you'll need to saute. Gloves, you should make sure you have gloves. Your whisk, your spatula. And then obviously at the end, your decoration plate and your syrup once you are finished. So what you're gonna do, one of the things you wanna be mindful of is when you're making when you're using an egg batter, excuse me, just know that these are pasteurized eggs. So they tend to have a little bit of a longer shelf life, and pasteurization means that the eggs are cooked at a certain temperature where bacteria thrives, and so they reduce the amount of bacteria within your product. It doesn't kill everything, but it reduces the amount of bacteria that's in your product. If you do use raw eggs, and you are well aware that salmonella is effervescent inside your eggs, so you wanna make sure if you're gonna use complete raw products that you wash your hands. If you're cracking your shells, make sure you're cracking your shells on the counter, not on the bowl, not on the sides of the bowl, but on the counter, and then cracking the egg open into a separate container, and then throwing your eggshells away so that way no shells are in your mixture. So what we're gonna do, so back here, guys, I have my stove top with my pan already ready to go. So I'm not gonna turn on the heat just yet. I'm gonna try to put my batter together before we go ahead and turn on our stove top. So my hands are already washed, but just to be safe, safety measures, I'm gonna go ahead and put on our gloves. So again, one of the things of being safe is to make sure that you're handling your items safely. So obviously the first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna pour your eggs into your container or into your bowl. And then also what you're going to do is you're going to pour your liquid contents into your bowl as well. So just remember, chef has already gone through and pre-portioned everything that you need to make your recipe at home. And then also you're going to need about an ounce of vanilla because you're going to be making quite a bit of French toast. So 2 tablespoons equals an ounce. Remember, angry chicken eyes, 2 double T's. And what you're gonna do is you're gonna use your whisk, and you're just gonna whisk that gently together with your milk and your eggs. And so also what we talked about in class is making sure that your egg batter stays at 41 or below degrees. We also talked about the temperature danger zone. So what you don't want to do is make your batter and then walk away. Essentially, if you're not going to use your batter right then and there, what you're going to do is you're going to head over to your fridge, place your batter in your fridge until you're ready to go. Danger temperature zone is 41 degrees to 135. Anything within the danger temperature zone, that's where bacteria likes to thrive the most. And we remember Fat Tom, right? Fat Tom, what bacteria needs to thrive? So you've got food, you've got acid, you've got time and temperature, then you've got oxygen and moisture, which is all in this beautiful creation of our French toast batter. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and put this in the fridge. All the way over here. So I'm ready to go. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna wash my hands, because obviously I handle raw products. Remember, when you're handling raw products and you're washing your hands, to wash your hands for at least 20 seconds. And make sure you turn off the faucet with the parchment paper, not your actual hand, because then you're just reintroducing bacteria onto your hands. All right, so we've got our egg batter in the fridge, ready to go when I'm ready. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna make our cinnamon sugar mixture. So for our cinnamon sugar mixture, I'm going to use about a teaspoon of cinnamon. And so you guys should have your tools and equipment at home that was provided by the school. Thank you, CMS. And then what you're going to do is probably do about maybe a tablespoon or two of sugar. You can use brown. I like personally using brown sugar, but white sugar just does in a pinch as well. So you're also going to do about an ounce of sugar, because again, it's a light sprinkle. You're not trying to drown your bread in your cinnamon sugar. So down here is your cinnamon sugar mixture. And then what I'm doing is I'm kind of breaking up the brown sugar and making sure I'm mixing that and well incorporating it. So that way when it's time to go to the stove, get that nice color on the French toast. So you can kind of see it coming together. You only need a little bit of cinnamon. Cinnamon does take over as far as flavor and taste. So less is best. So one of the things we also talked about is the different service types that we talked about in class. So there were 4 types of breakfast services. We talked about American. We talked about English service, continental, and then brunch, which is my personal favorite. Okay. So the 5 foodborne pathogens that we need to make sure we're aware of when we're doing the cooking process is E. coli, Salmonella, Shigella, norovirus, and hepatitis A. But typically speaking, when we're dealing with eggs, the 2 that we should be most concerned with is Salmonella and E. coli. So I've got my cinnamon sugar ready. Like I said, my batter is still in the fridge, just keeping within temp. I'm not trying to get it outside of its normal temp. Make sure we have our thermometer ready and handy to go. So now I'm going to go ahead. So you guys already had this provided in your bags. So you have your butter chips that you're going to use to go ahead and start turning on your fire. So I'm going to turn it this way. So you guys were provided with your saute pans. That's probably not as big as this one, but you guys were provided with your saute pans. So this is what you're going to use. So you want to make sure your fire is on medium to low heat. I'm going to go ahead and open up the butter packs. Again, guys, I'm using the same ingredients that you guys have at home. Nothing fancy. So that way you guys are able to follow along with Chef. So I usually put about 2 butter pats down at the bottom, and then I'm going to save this last one as kind of our garnish for our French toast when they're done. Cool beans. So now what we're going to do, we're going to go over here and we're going to go grab our batter, and then we're going to get our bread ready to go. So I'm going to make sure I have an extra pair of gloves so that way when it comes time to dip the batter, we're ready to go. Fantastic. So I can already hear the sizzling behind me. So you don't ever want to burn your butter, or else you'll have brown butter. So again, I'm going to try to turn the fire just a little bit lower. Not trying to make brown butter, I'm trying to make French toast. So what we'll do is, typically speaking, I like to have some type of sheet pan next to me while I'm cooking. So that way all of my ingredients are near the stove. So that way I don't have to rush around and grab anything that I need. Ideally speaking, this wouldn't work if we were all in the kitchen at the same time, but for purposes of demonstration, I like to try to keep things near me. Okay. So with my saute pan ready to go, remember, one of the things you want to be mindful of is food safety. So if you don't have gloves at home, I encourage you to do every task. Once you're done taking out your bread, once you're done mixing your batter, once you're done setting up, to wash between each task. So if you finish one task, stop what you're doing, wash your hands, and then come back and do the next task. Because ideally at home, you want to make sure you're taking extra precautions on being safe and not cross-contaminating or having the potential to cross-contaminate. Oh, see, forgot something. So I've got my sugar. So what we're gonna do, so I have my bread. So because typically French toast, you use thicker pieces of bread, we'll just have regular white bread. And so I won't dip it as harshly. So I'll probably just lay it on top, give it a couple seconds, turn it over, give it a couple seconds. So you kind of rinse the side, let that little runoff go on here. And then I'll go ahead and place it on my pan. Now, mind you, you don't have to keep changing your gloves or washing your hands after every task because you're doing one task, which is dipping your bread, letting the egg run off just a tad bit, and pouring it into your pan. So same thing, a couple seconds on each side, letting the egg run off a little bit, pouring it into your pan. So just be mindful though, when you are dipping your egg, just make sure the egg stays in the bowl and that you're not reaching across counters or reaching across to grab something. Make sure, remember, you have mise en place, meaning everything is in its place. Everything needs to be where you're at. So you're not rushing all over the kitchen like a chicken without a head and then potentially cross-contaminating everything in your kitchen at home. That wouldn't be good. So right now, what I have is my French toast on the stove top. So they're cooking right here. I'm gonna turn on the fire just a little bit more. So as it starts to form on top, I'm going to dust or sprinkle the cinnamon sugar on top. Remember, dust or sprinkle, you don't want to dump. You just want that nice color on top. Okay, fantastic. So right now your fire is on medium-low heat. You don't want to turn it too high, and you want to stay put and watch what your food is doing. This is not the time to go off and be like doing something else. While your food is cooking, you want to try to grab the rest of your tools and equipment, kind of get it ready. So when your food is done, you can plate it and present it nicely. So one of the things you want to be mindful of as well is you cannot tell something is done by the look of it. Yeah, generally speaking, if you can see like there's a nice brown color over it and it looks like things are coming out, especially with meats, you'll typically think, oh, this looks done, until you cut into it and realize it's a red center or it's a runny center. So one of the things you want to do is you want to make sure you have your handy dandy thermometer, which everybody got in their kits, and you want to take the temperature of your food before you serve it. Most food needs to be served at temperatures of 145 to 165, depending on your cooking. For French toast instance, we're going to make sure our food is above 165 degrees. So you can kind of see now it's not starting to cook. Take it off the fire just real quick. So right now it's kind of cooking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over. I'm going to separate my bread. Turn my fire down just a tad bit more. These things have a mind of their own sometimes. I'm going to flip it over. Then I'm going to also put a little bit of cinnamon sugar on top. Like I said, a sprinkle or a dash. You're not trying to drown it. And then when you come over here, you'll start seeing nice color and coating on top of it. Again, I'm still going to take the temp because I want to make sure this is cooked to the internal temperature of 165. So typically speaking, you're like, chef, well, it's not meat. Where's the thickest part of the side of the French toast? Ideally speaking, if you stick it onto the side, you just want to try to get the middle part of it, and you want to make sure your eggs are not runny. Any runny eggs denotes that it's not completely cooked. So if you start turning over your French toast and you notice there's nothing running, that means you're good to go, but you still want to take the temp. I'm going to go ahead and take the temp of my French toast. You want to stick it about halfway in. You don't want to touch the bottom of the pan because then you'll get an accurate reading. So I see my numbers starting to climb. Cool. So I have now reached the internal temperature. So at this point, I'm going to turn off my fire because, as always, what I tell you guys in class is there's carryover cooking going on when you're cooking in the kitchen. So you just want to make sure that and remind yourself that don't cook it longer than it needs to be, because then it'll become a tough rubbery product. Cool. So at this point, I can flip over my French toast and I can see I have no runniness. I check the tip, everything looks good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plate my French toast. Again, keep everything in its place. So typically speaking, if you're going to serve your French toast to family or friends, you wash your hands and then serve the food as you would. As always, you guys received breakfast syrup, and then you guys received breakfast butter. So what you would do is you would put your butter on top of your French toast and then dress it with your syrup. That's typically it. So this is your French toast. If you have powdered sugar at home, by all means, definitely use some powdered sugar. You can sprinkle a little bit more cinnamon sugar on top. But that's the whole process of cooking your French toast. So just a couple of things to remind you guys self. When you're at home, you'll have to do your reflection piece. So again, as I'm walking through the steps, as a great chef, you need to understand that your reflection piece is important because it lets you know what you did well, what you did not do well, and what you can do better the next time. So the reflection piece will be written on your journal entries. And then we're going to take what we've learned today and kind of apply it in your portfolio with your marketing plan. Okay, so just remember a couple of things you want to be mindful of is the five foodborne pathogens you want to be made aware of. You want to make sure there's no cross-contamination occurring. Everything's already preset for you. So a lot of the cross-contamination I've already kind of knocked out of the way, but you're still cooking at home. You want to make sure that you're present within your kitchen as you're cooking. And then at the end of the day, just have fun with it. This is an awesome time for your family to kind of see your skills and showcase what you guys can do, what we've learned in Culinary 1. All right. It was fun, guys, doing a demonstration with you, and I'll see you next time in class. Have a good day. Chef out.